Hey, it's Will. It is 7 in the morning, Saturday, October 11th, 10:11. I'm at Sheep Meadow in the park, in Central Park. This area is it's a neat confluence. You get the Sheep Meadow, which is this big open green space of grass and a couple boulders on the outside. The history is that Manhattan, the island, used to be very rocky, and they cleared a lot of it out, a lot of the rocks and boulders out of the way to create Central Park and more or less what we see Manhattan of today, up until you get to the upper Manhattan, where there's a lot more boulders and hills. Sheep Meadow School used to be where they would hold the sheep, graze. And then across the street is the Tavern on the Green, which used to be where they would hold the sheep. Sheep Meadow is now a spot where a lot of people, especially in the summer, spring and summer, go out and read a book, nap, enjoy the sun. The view from Sheep Meadow, at least looking south and southeast, let's just call it south, because southwest too, it's cool because there's all of these, high rises that, especially these, I think they're calling them skinny skyscrapers, pencil skyscrapers. It's just a really cool view of all these people in the middle of Manhattan, essentially New York City, chilling on the lawn. Not the great lawn, but Sheep Meadow, being overlooked by these massive buildings, glass buildings for the most part. There's a couple still tall brick buildings, mostly glass buildings these days. And that JP Morgan building that you might have been reading or listening, watching, you can see, I think that's what, like at 43rd and Park. It's got to be right around there because I think there's a direct entrance to Grand Central, or a direct thoroughfare between Grand Central Terminal and the new JP Morgan building. It's got to be right around there on 43rd and probably Park. You can see the tips of that. That's one of the newer skyscrapers that's been built and opened up. That spot's great. And if you look to the west as you're walking south, you can see some of those brick buildings on Central Park West that are facing east. And when it's clear out and the sun pops out, peeks over the park, that's where those colors just like bounce off of those, the sun, the glow of the morning sun bounces off that brick. It's pretty cool. It's a good spot. Yeah, and they finally repaved. Looks like they finished up the Central Park West. All the paving. Looks great. So I brought maybe I consider my big boy camera. No, not my phone. I have my phone, but I'm taking pictures with the big boy camera. It's a digital mirrorless camera I picked up a couple years ago. I like taking this with me depending on the lens, just because I get these raw files. I like those raw files when it comes to digital, because I've got a like a template or a style that I like to use with my photos. I think the part that I try to come to a balance with, I also have a film camera, an Olympus camera that shoots in RAW. It only shoots in RAW. And I struggled with understanding, like you watch some videos, YouTube videos or videos in general about editing film photos. It just feels not right. I mean, you're taking film, which is more or less a static medium for a point-in-time shot, and editing those just seems wrong. I think everything you should do with film, in my opinion, everything you should do with film should be in camera. There shouldn't be any kind of post-processing. When you go get the film developed, that creates some sort of change in the film look. I'm talking about editing directly the film, getting the scans and then changing those. Okay, we're at 72nd and Central Park West. This is where John Lennon and Yoko Ono at the Dakota building used to live. I think John Lennon's birthday was recently. Maybe it was last week. If you're on 72nd facing the Dakota building, I see the gates out front and the flames. If you head right into the park and just continue along that path on the left side, you'll run up against the Imagine memorial or emblem that's on the ground. I was reading something about that area right there, just something called Strawberry Fields. It was created to honor the Beatles and John Lennon. Yoko Ono had a hand in the redevelopment of that area and the plaque itself. It's kind of a neat story. Get neat in a sad way. Yeah, the sun hasn't come out. Yeah, it usually does by now. I mean, I'm sure it's up, but it's hiding behind the clouds, so I don't get to see any of the kind of golden splash against these buildings. That's all right. That means there's a nor'easter coming in this weekend. Yeah, I think those hurricanes that are off the East Coast, are spinning and gathering enough steam on the tail end that we'll get the nor'easter. It's a big storm that comes up the east side of the United States. I think we're supposed to see the beginning of the storm hit tomorrow afternoon after 12. And I think it's supposed to last through maybe like the beginning of Tuesday. We were here during the Sandy superstorm. 72nd Amsterdam is basically, I think it's 70th officially, but I think, yeah, 72nd in Amsterdam is basically where Broadway splits up uptown, and Amsterdam is born. It's also where the 72nd Street subway stop is, which is the 1, 2, or 3 lines, which gets really busy. Plus, there's a Trader Joe's right there. There's also a Grace Papaya on the corner. In the more than 10 years that we've lived here, I've been to Grace Papaya once. It was delicious. Delicious. It's a hot dog joint. Speaking of film, I'm now on Amsterdam, and Amsterdam and 73rd is where I get my film scanned and developed. It's cool. I go down and get it, and a day or two later, it arrives in my inbox. I walk down and take a pick up the negatives. That way, if I ever need to, if I sell or if I ever want to reproduce something, I'll always have them. And I'll always have every photo I've taken on film. I've got a little book that holds all the film, all the sleeves. So I've been writing on the web, I guess officially. By officially, I mean I've had my own domain. AndersonJr.com was registered, I think, in 2007. Yeah, we're coming up to Andy's Deli. It's a little bodega on the corner of 74th and Amsterdam. One of the best. Great sandwiches. It's right around the corner from Levain, the famous bakery. So 2007, almost 20 years. And I have articles that go back to 2007. Right now I have them in an exported XML format for me to hold on to and figure out what I want to do. And I've been working, or at least in the professional field, for much longer than that. And if I count my first job as either a paper boy or working at Foster's Freeze in Milpitas, California. That's right, I was a line cook. To one of my first management shifts or responsibilities, roles at a coffee shop, where it was not a Starbucks and we did $1 million a month. I've been in some sort of leadership role, up to executive ranks in New York. And I mean, realistically these days, right? Any role you're in some sort of leadership role. Maybe not a management role, which I think are different, but a leadership role. So I've been writing, working, in quotes, leading, all while traveling the world, from Australia to Vienna, in consulting roles, entertainment roles, and tech roles. So I started thinking about what can I give back, right? As a leader, you're always trying to figure out how do you motivate your team, how do you plan for the long haul, how do you make sure that your team is getting what they want out of their careers, both in their current roles and just their career in general. What do they want to do in life? I remember talking to a product manager. You talk about like knowledge transfer, IP transfer, when humans move from one role to the next one, leave one company, it goes to another. That vacuum of knowledge is decision-making skills. Leadership skills, the whole deal. They go with that person. And that may seem like, well, ChatGPT, AI, just document all that stuff, and we won't lose all that. Yeah, we all know that humans are the ones that actually enact everything, especially when you get more than one human involved, then the decision-making gets decidedly more complex. So documentation is good, yet it's not everything. That's why I wanted to put these pieces together. I've been working on a site called Letters to Me. Over this past week, I've been thinking about productivity and AI and Apple shortcuts and how do I document all this stuff? So back to that knowledge transfer, IP transfer, document all that stuff for my own transitions, and also provide context around like how I make those decisions, why I make those. I mean, you're not going to get 100%. I think that context through audio and video is always helpful. So that's what Letters to Me started to become. As with everything, we come to a point where we need to think about what comes next, while still focusing on what matters most. Back to that leadership, long-term motivation. And I think that's where I got stuck over the past week or two. Like I haven't put anything out publicly in probably a couple of weeks, if not longer. Yet I still see my folks of interest growing, right? Whether that's through emails, whether that's through conversations with colleagues today. And I thought maybe Letters to Me is one of those good starting points, but it's not necessarily where I want to end up. And I would assume that this next step is probably not where I want to end up either. Yet that's where I'm at. I'm at a step where I think I'm going to change what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, where I'm doing it. So starting today, whenever this episode is released, I'll be switching Letters to Me to Upon Consideration. I like that because it's something that's more slow growth, more mindset focused, right? Whether it's intentional or whatever the words are, it's to be more in the moment and to capture that experience as much as possible and to wrap some deep thinking around it. So, this decision isn't made in a hurry. I was talking to somebody the other day at the office, and I mentioned that nobody really likes to make decisions. And I think if you read some of these executive interviews, their goal is to not make decisions. as if to think that they're making like all of these gigantic decisions at some point in time. I mean, sure, a contract has to be signed, right? Or a deal has to be agreed on. That's not really a decision. All those smaller decisions roll up into somebody signing something, agreeing on it, giving their approval. But it's all those little ones that roll up into a big one, which means that bigger decision isn't really being made by an executive or an individual. It's being made by a team after a lot of thought and a lot of exercise and a lot of discipline. That's what I want upon consideration to be. Join me there.